Hi there, I'm Molly,
And I'm Jamie. We're the owners of Hired Hand Software.
and this is Season 6 of our From the Pasture podcast. For more than 15 years, we've been helping breeders promote their pedigree livestock with our easy-to-use, animal management-driven website software.
Each week, we bring you stories from the pasture, breeding philosophies, ranch traditions, cattle knowledge, and conversation with folks using Hired Hand to power their livestock marketing.
So settle in for today's episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Welcome back to From the Pasture podcast. I'm your host, Molly Clubb, and today's episode is a very special one for us. We're sitting down with Heather Sheppard, joined by her dad, Peter, from Sheppard Farm on Apple Hill. In 2026, Sheppard Farm is celebrating 50 years on the land, a huge milestone that represents family, stewardship, and a deep commitment to agriculture. They're also well known for their Highland cattle, a breed with a rich history and a loyal following. Heather, Peter, thank you both for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and start at the very beginning. Can you tell us how Sheppard Farm on Apple Hill got its start and what this land has meant to you and your family for the last 50 years?
Well, the farm has been in our family now, parts of it for over 100 years. Started by my grandfather started buying land in the Hanover area. And my involvement started when I got out of college, and we had a lot of pasture that wasn't being used for anything. And I wanted to do something with it. So I looked around and looked at a lot of different cattle, different types of cattle, and settled on the Highlanders. They had cute faces. So that's how I got started. I mean, the farm had been a cash crop, small grain farm from the time of the 20s. And my interest, really only interest, was in the cattle. So we got our first Highlanders in October, which is, of course, a terrible time to get cattle because you figure out what you don't know in a hurry, from feeding to watering to everything. So that was our start. The family has had a multi-generational interest in preserving land. Whenever land adjacent to our farm becomes available, we usually purchase it. We are in a very fast-growing part of Pennsylvania, and what isn't farmland very quickly becomes under houses. So our farm has continued to grow and continued in the interest in Highlanders.
About you, Heather, tell us a little bit about your start and when you came into this history.
So I really got started very late in the game. After college and I got married, we moved to Texas and I spent 5 years in Texas. And I think that's where I got the real appreciation of what my dad had been producing was an all-natural grass-fed product. And when I moved back in 2007, I moved back from Texas. And then in 2008, I started selling the beef at farmers markets as an all-natural grass-fed beef and was really focused on the beef sales side. And over time, Dad encouraged me to come out. Hey, I'm working with these clients that are coming in. I could really use a second set of hands selling these cattle because in 2009, 2010, Highlands were really a harder sell. There wasn't an interest. They were a heritage breed, a slower grow, and, there just wasn't the interest that there is now. So over time, Dad invited me to the fold, and I got into selling the live animals, and then basically moved into it being my daily job around 2016, 2017.
So you mentioned that Highlands weren't super popular, back when you started, but Peter, were they very common at all in Pennsylvania when you started? Were there other, ranches that you could go visit to learn from, or what did people
There were
say?
only 3 herds in Pennsylvania when I started. And actually, some of the registration numbers of our cattle were in the 9,000 range, and now they're up in the 62,000, 64,000 range. So a lot has happened. A lot of farms have started raising. But again, I looked at a lot of breeds, and although they all have great traits, I just settled on the Highlanders.
How many head did you start with?
It would have been 8 cows and a bull.
So
Bull's name is Legend. He was.
I feel like there's a story there.
Well, whenever he wanted to change pastures, he would just put his head down in the wire fence until the wire was low enough and then just step over. So it was a challenge keeping him where we wanted him to be.
Well, tell me a little bit about what the farm looked like in those early years. So, we're going to, as our interview progresses today, we're going to talk a lot about things that are important to you all, like the land stewardship aspect, different things about the cattle and the preserving the breed. But just back in those early days, what did the farm look like? Maybe talk me through changes that you've had to make physically to the land or to buildings, to support your growing program, just those types of changes.
Well, I started with 2 pastures that had been left to grow up in briars and weeds and whatnot. I didn't have a usable fence around either one of them. So started with getting the fence back. Highlanders will eat things that other cattle will just go around. They'll bypass. And they're very easy keepers. I don't think they eat nearly as much as Hereford or an Angus. But they're not as big either. So, but they will make use of poor pasture, which is exactly what I had. I had to put a water system in because when there had been animals there previously, they just used a siphon and a hose. That didn't work very well in the wintertime. I had a variety of different systems I used. I used a Chinese water wheel to fill a watering trough. Then I went to a hydraulic ram, which I used for several years. And then eventually broke down and put an electrical service. And the one pasture goes right by a stream, so I would pull water out of the stream to use our water. Still use it that way.
And that is the one trough that over the 50 years has never frozen, which is astonishing.
Thinking about hosting your own online sale?
With Hired Hand Live, you can run a standalone internet auction right from your ranch. No travel, no weather concerns, no space limitations.
You have the animals? We handle the technology.
It's stress-free, secure, and designed for livestock breeders.
Start your own sale at hiredhandlive.com.
What about, can you talk to me a little bit about maybe how like your working pens or your fencing system has changed, or if you have, if you've adapted your outbuildings or, your barns over the years?
Well, initially I built two pole buildings, just a one-sided building with a corral where I could isolate a cow and calf. When they have problems, you want to keep them in for a couple days. But all cattle are very subject to getting pneumonia. So you don't want to have them in a closed building that's nice and warm and whatnot. You think you're doing the best thing for them, and the second they get outside, they'll get pneumonia. So originally it was just a one-sided pole building. Now we use the barns that are on the farm as we have a nursery under the one. We use the original bullpens that were there from the 20s at when they, had a dairy farm there. So we used what we've had. We've updated them. But yeah, I always used wire fence. Box wire fence was the easiest fence to put up. When you could get good wire fence, it was great. It's very difficult to get that wire now, and actually we're transitioning over to a 4-board fence.
Well, one of the things Dad
Wood's
touched on
cut on our farm.
Yeah, sorry, Dad.
Part of our operation is a sawmill, so we saw our own boards and make our own fence.
What I was going to add to that is we had a situation where we had a really late snow, and the calf, and I know we'll talk about it later, but the calf ended up living. We had to pull the calf because the calf was just too cold, and we had no place to take the mom and the baby. So the calf ended up living in my bathroom for 2.5 weeks with my small children, which was awesome, but also not ideal. So that's next year. We worked on cleaning out some of those older buildings that had other uses. And so now we have, using our 1927 bank barn, 2 long pens that we can break into 4 separate stalls as a nursery, just in case we need to bring mom and a calf in to get out of the weather, whether it's, 6 inches of mud or 6 inches of snow. But typically they calve in the field. But that was one of the big changes that took place during my time. And Dad's right, with the 4-board fences and the wire not being as strong, it's much better for us to move towards that 4-board fence. And it's kind of easier to repair in some cases when cars go through the fence.
Let's switch gears a little bit and let's focus on the family operation aspect of the farm. So what has it been like working together as a father-daughter team?
Well, from my perspective, I like to work with the animals. I like to make hay. And of course, with the size of our herd now, making hay is a major undertaking. But I'm not good at selling. I've never been good at selling. And Heather has the ability to market these animals, know what the market is, and make friendships and relationships with other Highland farms that are long-lasting and work well for everybody.
Dad has a wealth of knowledge on this breed that, I tell people on a regular basis, I stand on the shoulders of Dad and those people who I've learned from, because my background is not in agriculture. So, and a lot of it is learning by doing. We've pulled calves together. It's not my favorite thing to call dad at 2 a.m. and be like, hey, I can't get it out. It's, and comes up and we save the cow, and, you have those really horrible moments, and then you have some really amazing ones where you're all working together and you get the calf out and everybody's great, But I've learned so much from him. If I learn a fourth of what he knows about tractors, I will consider that an absolute gift. Dad's breadth of knowledge on equipment and making hay is phenomenal. And we work well together because it's I'm going here, you're going there, and the concurrent activity brings us to a place that's beneficial for the farm, the cows, and the operation.
I have to tell one story on Heather.
Geez.
When she was, guess you might have been a teenager.
Are you talking about the pigs?
We had this annual function in our county called the Bull Ball. And it was a dinner dance that everybody brought their herd bull. And the idea was to have as many breeds there as possible. So we'd have dinner, and then they'd put the tarps down, and you'd bring your bull into the conference center, the fire hall. We even had it in a Sheraton one time. And you talk about your bull, and then you take your bull out, next bull comes in, and you put your bulls back on the trailer, and then it's a dinner dance. But I sent Heather and her brother loose with this 6-8 month old bull through the crowd. And the number of herd owners that came up to me and go, I hate you. My wife wants one of these in the worst way. But, you can say that was my attempt at marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny, Molly, is that in some ways I have borrowed from that book, because I have people who are skeptical on how well behaved our bulls are. And I have 3 daughters, and all 3 of them have trained bulls. My oldest 2 have really trained the majority of the bulls that left this farm. And so when someone says, well, are they good around kids? I send a video of my daughters going out in the field, putting the halter on, taking them for a walk, So yeah, using your child to market animals. But it also is a great indication of the animal's disposition too.
Some of the strongest advocates for the Texas Longhorn breed aren't breeders yet. They're young people who already love these cattle.
For 30 years, the Longhorn Project has given students a chance to raise, care for, and show Texas Longhorns, while also learning agriculture, business, leadership, and responsibility.
It's a program that builds confidence, character, and the next generation of cattlemen and cattlewomen.
As they celebrate 30 years in 2026, learn how you can support their mission or get involved at thelonghornproject.com.
They are very intelligent animals, and if they're treated with kindness, they'll return that kindness. And our bulls come when they're called, and it's interesting to see Heather work with them. If they've done something wrong, she scolds them, they hang their head. But it's a good working relationship.
Well, you mentioned a brother, you mentioned some children. Is there anyone else in the family that plays a role? Does everyone kind of get involved, or how does that work?
No, it's pretty just the 2 of us.
Well, and Eva and Karis and Maisie are my daughters.
Oh, yes. Heather's daughters.
What do they take an interest in specifically, Heather, besides helping train the bulls?
Yeah. Well, they actually help halter break all the animals. They work on the farm. So on weekends, they're doing herd checks, trough cleanings, the bullpen clean outs. My oldest is, she's at college now, but she's been working on the farm since she was 13. They've helped pull calves, helped rebuild fence when cars go through, helped, I don't want to say chase animals, but, when they get out, get them back in the pasture, that sort of thing. Even when we have bottle babies that end up on my side of the farm at my barn, they help raise the bottle babies. Everything from cleaning the pen to, actually making the bottle and the fun part. My oldest is actually, I think, because of her time on the farm and realizing what a special place it is, she's majoring in biology and environmental studies with a concentration on conservation. So this summer, she's actually going out to Yellowstone with her university to conserve native medicinal plants at Yellowstone. So I'd like to think that the seeds of that were planted here, which is pretty awesome. My middle daughter comes with me to do sales. She is a far more gregarious person, so a lot of our agritourism events, Karis is there talking with people. And then my youngest is 11, and she works in the store. So we have a farm store that sells beef and merchandise, and she's behind the counter and talking to people. And she's just getting to the age where I feel that she can help guide some of the agritourism events and things like that we do. It's just interesting because we have found that not everybody believes an 11-year-old. So, I'd like her to be a little bit older before I subject her to that sort of thing. But all three of them help halter break calves and get involved.
So you touched on a few things here that I want to talk about a little further, and correct me if I'm wrong. But when you and I were working on the outline, I think I understood this correctly. So you halter break your animals for temperament, but you're not halter breaking them for the show ring because
No.
you aren't active in showing, right?
We show at York State Fair, which is the state fair for Pennsylvania. And that's about it. We went to Denver this year to celebrate our 50th. And that was a lot of work. And I have great respect for those people who make showing their weekend. But we do York Fair largely because it's an educational event, not a show event. So there's no clipping. There's to be no clipping, no fitting, and no paint at York because they want us to show Highlands as they are, to educate the public that's coming. This is a heritage breed. We're the day after the Longhorns. So Longhorns go first. Then they tried to do it all in one day. It just went on too long. So we have our own day now. So that's the one we're involved in because it's more of an educational event. But we do have some animals that have the temperament for showing. And so those are the ones we take to York. The idea of halter breaking all of our heifers, and, obviously we halter break the bulls and one or two steers. The idea behind halter training is that I want the first experience that animal has on a halter to be a positive one so that when they get to be full size, God forbid they have a calving incident, an injury, anything like that. If they have to have a halter put on, I don't want them to be like, oh my God. Like, I want them to know, okay, this human's trying to help me. So they do have long memories. We have had some older girls that we've been able to throw lassos over their horns and they fight it while they're trying to, deliver a calf or they're injured. And I'd rather avoid that stage of the process. And it also helps out the future buyer too, for their animal husbandry and their future with that animal.
So our listeners that might be more familiar with the breeds that they raise, whether that be, Longhorn, Angus, Hereford, that type of stuff, what would you say to folks that are maybe rolling their eyes at the fact that you take the time to, go through that trouble, as some would look at it, of halter breaking, the animals and that type of stuff? And then additionally, tell me about, I'm sure you've gotten feedback from people who have purchased your animals, thankful that you did that. So, tell me a few of those stories.
Well, first of all, I would say that everybody needs to do what works for them in their pasture. It's not something that works for everybody. But the reason we started doing that was because of situations we had with older cows and it being harder to work with them and making the conscious choice of, okay, would this help? Would this help if? And it also gives me an idea of personality. Our Highland buyer is very different than a commercial herd. So for those people who run 400 animals, no, this isn't going to work. We run, right now we're at 194 animals. It's calving season. And no, we don't halter break all the steers. But all the steers come to a white bucket full of grain. So I can move my animals that way. We do that because, again, it is a decision we made based on experience and making it easier for us. The feedback that we have had from our customers has been very positive. Some of our continued customers come from the fact that we halter train every animal. And I've even said to them, she's not crazy about being on the halter, but she'll be a great brood cow for you, that sort of thing. And they move to the new pasture and they're with the new family and they become a house pet and they want to be brushed and combed and all that because the seeds were planted here and they bloomed somewhere else. Totally fine with that. But one of the things that we do, Molly, is I ask the customer what their goals are for owning Highlands. As I started selling with Dad, I discovered that one, it takes a lot of time to interview people as to whether they should own a cow, let alone a hamster. Some people have 1 acre and they don't need a cow. They need something else. So we developed a questionnaire, and the very last question is, what are your goals for owning these animals? Knowing you're going to have to feed them, knowing you're going to have the vet out, all these things. And once I learn what their goals are, then I try to match the animal with the goal. If their goal is to be a beef producer, then they don't need that snuggly cow. They really don't. They need to be able to go get the calf and work the animal. But if it's, I want to raise brood stock and do agritourism, then that's a different animal. Not every animal wants to do agritourism. Not every animal wants to be around people. And not every Highland should have their genetics put back into the pool if they choose violence or they're too hard to work. And I take the reputation that Dad has had very seriously, and I don't want to do anything to jeopardize that. So I want to sell an animal that meets the goals of the customer. And I can think of 3 examples where we've tried to throw a halter on the animal, and it was just too dangerous. And now she's happily in the beef program. So, you don't want to sell something as brood stock that is dangerous to work.
Well, I feel like this is a really good segue into a section just about Highland education in general. So for our folks listening that may not be familiar with this breed, let's talk a little bit about what makes them unique. So talk to me a little bit about their overall maternal traits.
Dad, do you want to do this or do you want me to?
Well, they are very protective of their calves. They never leave their calves unattended. Sometimes you'll see one cow babysitting 3 or 4 calves, but they don't leave them. And they are very good mothers. We've had some cows that, and I'm sure this happens with all breeds, but we've had some cows that would help nurse somebody else's calf if that mother wasn't capable of giving enough milk. So
they are very maternal and protective. Honestly, we very rarely have to pull a calf. They have great calving ease. And, but on the whole, Highlands are very docile. They're easy to work. And so when you have one that chooses violence, you don't want to breed that no matter how good their pedigree is. You want to make sure that you're pushing forward that easy handling animal and those genetics. That, like Dad said, they're excellent foragers. They eat a wide variety of things. If you look at our pastures, all the tree lines are trimmed, and it's not because we went along with the trimmer. It's because the cows are eating the leaves regardless, which sometimes I wish they wouldn't, but they do it anyway, and they're fine. And of course, you have the horns, which all registered breeding stock has to have the horns. And they use those for temperature control, communication, protection. And there's even studies that show that because the horn goes in through the sinus, it improves their ability to smell. And then you have the long coat, the dual coat, which is very distinctive. And that is your long guard hairs on top that keep the weather out and insulate them with a downy undercoat. So they prefer to have an inch of snow on their back to, the extreme 100-degree temperatures and that sort of thing. Right now, a lot of them look awful because we had a warm snap. And so around May, they start looking terrible because they're shedding out, and then once they shed out, they look fine again. But they look like they look like a matted mess until they rub all that off, which is what the box fence is for.
So I know this may be kind of a hot topic, at least, from maybe the internet. What is the correct or typical size for mature Highland cattle?
Males can get anywhere from 1,700 to 2,000 pounds. We owned a bull that was probably, what would you say Barabbas was, Dad? 2,400? He was massive.
Yeah.
He's a massive bull. And then our cows range in weight. I think our smallest is probably around 1,100 and our biggest is pushing 1,600 pounds. Miniature Highlands are not a thing. They're just not. And I'm not going to hop on that soapbox.
Wasn't Barabbas the one that was in the wedding? He was best bull in the wedding?
Two of our bulls have been in a wedding. Barabbas was in a wedding, and then Column was in a wedding also.
See the bride in her dress. You see the groom and the bull standing between them. So,
yes,
he looked very happy to be there.
He was. They both were. But Highlands are not a miniature breed.
One of the things you touched on in one of your answers, Heather, was pedigree. So talk to me a little bit about not only how important pedigree is for the breeding side of the stock, but also how long it took you to maybe learn, what you were looking for in pedigrees for animals you were wanting to bring into the program. And Peter, same for you, when you were just getting started, a little bit about that learning curve and what popular bloodlines or what bloodlines you've come to inject into your program that you like.
I'm going to let Dad start.
Well, when I started, the premier herd country was Pitcher Mountain from Maine, and they had the best animals. But Highlanders have when I started, had the opportunity to improve their conformation through the selection of bulls, through the selection of cows that you allowed to remain on the farm and the ones you didn't send down the road. And in recent years, Heather's been working with a variety of bulls, whether it's through AI or whether it's we borrowed bulls for the winter. Farm owners are happy to get rid of that obligation for the winter. And it works out well for us. So, Heather, you can add whatever you want to that.
Okay. I started learning pedigrees by using the American Highland Cattle Herdbook and seeing what family lines I liked, what lines were repetitious. One of the things Dad imparted to me was it's important for an animal to have clean genetics. So we don't do any line breeding on the farm. We try to make sure that the animal is genetically diverse as possible. And if there is a repetition, there has to be a reason for it. Or, like, for example, there are times where I'll see a bull that he's an impact bull, and I'll see him as a grandparent on one side and a great grandparent on the other. And that's okay to, in my opinion, to repeat an animal who is an impact bull. But there are so many genetic options right now and so many bulls that have been pulled for artificial insemination that maybe aren't as good as they should be. We have done some collection on farm, and it's because the animal is consistent, has excellent conformation, and really gives things to his calves that I can say, yes, Snowland Olaf will make your animal look like a cinder block with a nice wide back end for easy calving and adds length. And he does it like a cookie cutter to every single one of his kids. So we collected him. I try to find, when I do artificial insemination, try to find what their average calf weights are, show me some progeny, if there is any. I like a bull that has a record before he's collected, as opposed to just collecting him because, oh, I have this bull, and it's easy money. So I'm a little picky now that I have taken the time to really research our herd and see from where we came, and then try to figure out what we need to improve and where we need to go. We have 2 bulls right now that I'm super happy with their progeny. And we just sold Snowland Olaf, and I think he's been a phenomenal bull for us. We do have his semen available. And the 2 bulls I currently have, one is from Shat Acres, who is the oldest current herd in the nation. And Legacy has given us some wonderfully consistent calves. And then on the other side, our newest guy, his name is W.L. Nitty Gritty, and he is from Winland Flats, and he is a son of Philip of Glenorm, which is a Scottish import. I thought it was really important to bring Scottish bloodlines into the fold. But one thing that, and when I was talking with Josh Krenz about it, I said, I want to see pictures of his mom. And he's like, oh, this is this pretty photo. I'm like, no, let's FaceTime. I want to see her walk in the field. I want to look at what she looks like. And let me tell you, if Candy ever came up for sale, I would buy Nitty Mom, even though I don't need her, because I think it's important to know what the maternal side looks like just as much as the sire, because you get a lot of conformation and traits from the bull, but the dam does a lot too, especially when it comes to disposition and udder condition as well.
If each of you had to pick a favorite bull, dead or alive, all time ever, who would it be?
Yeah. Man, Dad, that's hard.
Well, favorite bull? For me, it would be Buddy.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Buddy.
Buddy was great.
He was, maybe didn't have the best conformation, but he was.
No. Buddy had great conformation. Great conformation.
He was a hell of a guy.
Oh my God, we kept him for 6 years. We have so many daughters in the field. But if Buddy wasn't done working, and part of it's conformation, and he is an impact sire, but he was a huge dude. And if he wasn't done working and you pushed him in the corral and were like, all right, time to go, he would just look at you and walk over to the gate and stick his horns in the gate and lift the gate off the hinges and then politely set it back down, walk out. And the next day he'd be back in the crowd to let you know, okay, I'm done now. Thank you. Just a polite, easy guy. And his daughters have great feet, great udders, wonderful dispositions. And our herd is just full of Buddy daughters. because Dad liked him so much. I'm really hard pressed to pick a favorite because, I would say Olaf, because of how consistent he is. His calves have great calf vigor, average calf weight of 58 pounds. You know what you're getting. And his disposition, I cried when he left. He's in South Carolina right now with a great family, but he, again, easy to work with. When it was time to bring him in, I would walk out with him and just put the halter on. And he, because we had him during COVID, and of course I had nothing better to do, my daughters and I saddle broke him. So my youngest has actually ridden a bull because we threw a saddle on him and he was like, oh, okay. And he didn't care. They actually presented the national anthem from the Olaf's back holding the American flag. So maybe it's a little of an emotional, I love this bull. But there are some great bulls out there. Like, I'm excited about the Philip of Glenorm that we now have in the fold. I think he's a great looking bull. I've always liked Angus VIII of Dunvegan. Just because of the way he's put together. They're very traditional Scottish guys. And I feel like Olaf is a very traditional Scottish bull. He's not trying to be the biggest, the baddest, whatever. He just is, I feel, what a Highland should look like.
Do you feel like the breed overall is losing some of that Scottish influence? Is that why you feel strongly about kind of interjecting some of that back in? Or tell me a little bit about that.
I don't know that the breed is losing it. I think, there's some amazing bulls we've used out of Germany. And I will butcher the way they pronounce it, but Clodagh Moore II von Sunderberg is out of the von Sunderberg fold in Germany. That's another bull that I absolutely love. His progeny, we've gotten 3 out of him, 2 of them heifers. Oh my gosh. Absolutely outstanding bull. But I think sometimes, and I probably goes with all breeds, Highlands aren't supposed to be gigantic. They were the traditional family bull, traditional family cow. So as we go for bigger, are we losing the ability to procreate to keep that traditional size? Sometimes if you feed an animal for show stock to win, so it's the biggest animal in the ring, how does that affect the animal's long-term ability to produce? What is their progeny going to look like? Are they going to be that big, or is it just because they've had that much nutrition that they've gotten so big and then their progeny is actually smaller? So I don't really have an answer to that. But I think we have to remember who we are. Dad's always been looking for that traditional Scottish type, that traditional Scottish animal. So that's part of the reason I turned to Shad Acres, because they also have that same philosophy of that traditional bull size. And then, being able to kind of reach into Scotland and get an unrelated bull from Winland Flats has been a great boon. But, that's one woman's opinion in her own pasture.
Well, another pick one question. We're recording this interview during calving season, as you mentioned. What calf or what pairing are you most excited for this year to hit the ground?
We got our first nitty babies. Oh my goodness, so happy about seeing the first, because it's a gamble, you buy them at under a year old and you're looking at your mom and you're looking at dad and you're like, please let this animal be good. But you could see his shoulder was really great and he had this big back end and his disposition. We picked him up in a parking lot in Frederick. And he walked onto the trailer, kind of looked around and, just wonderful. And the calves that are out are so consistent. And they're vibrant. It's kind of exciting. That's what I was excited. We have 4 calves coming. We've got 3 of them on the ground and they're healthy and nursing. And what I did with Nitty was I paired him with, one, Woodwatch Ian daughter, who was a previous bull we had, an Snowland Olaf daughter, an Apple Hill Dagda daughter, and a Apple Hill Mr. Tinsel. So all of the bulls that, 4 different bull daughters paired with this new bull, what am I going to get? And, because it's a huge genetic spread between those 4 girls, and to see the consistency across not only different matrilineal lines, but also different sires is really exciting. So we have one left. Her name's Pixie, and we'll see what Pixie gives us.
About you, Peter, is there anyone that she didn't mention that you're excited for?
Well, we're trying. This is Nitty's first year, so be very interesting to see how his calves turn out. But no, not particularly. I think we have 5 on the ground now.
We have 6 on the ground right now.
6.
Legacy kids haven't shown up yet. I don't know what Legacy was doing for the first 2 weeks out, in May. But this is our last round of Olaf kids in 194. So we're getting really good calves out of him right now. But like I said, I think Legacy was twiddling his thumbs or, doing a pasture sweep for the first 2 weeks. So, but they'll all come like popcorn shortly.
Molly, we have 2 calving seasons. We have the spring season that we're in the middle of right now, but our bigger season actually gives us fall calves. So we will have twice as many calves in the fall as we have now.
Yeah, the fall is crazy.
All right, well, let's switch gears a little bit again and talk about this big 50-year celebration. Obviously, for anyone that's been in farming, ranching, 50 years is no small milestone. And add on top of that, Peter, like you mentioned, that the land has been in your family for even over 100 years. As you both look back over the last 50 years or, however long you've been involved, what are you most proud of as a family and as a farm?
For me, it's that we found a sustainable business that can promote farming, we've done a lot with the land. We've improved the land. And certainly the Highlanders are a benefit to us, but also our community. We also our neighbor is a golf course that has a restaurant called Highland Taps and Tables, and they sell our beef in the restaurant. So it is it's a partnership that works very well. But again, from what I started with, we've come a long way. And the fact that Heather represents the 4th generation of our family to be involved, and her kids hopefully find their way back after college, find a way back to come back to the farm and be a part of it. That'd be super.
Even though I haven't been, Highlands have always been a part of my life. When I was a kid, it would not be unusual to have snow on the ground and a calf in the kitchen. But coming home after starting a family and getting involved, I think it's been incredible to be able to do this. It allows me to be a mom and farm and bring my kids to work and teach them about the importance of agriculture, land stewardship, how precious farmland and green space is. And then when we turn towards agritourism, to be able to share that with the community and maybe plant the seeds with kids that this is important, that we are in 2 counties. We're in York and Adams County, and they are the 5th and 6th greatest agricultural producers in the state. So maybe these kids aren't working Highlands, but they could go into agriculture. They could see the importance of agriculture there. And I think the cows have been part of this community for so long that when we reach out and we partner with school districts to do fundraisers for either FFA or the music department, or we're doing things for Hanover Santa Cabin where the cows go in July and it's Christmas in July, and people, pay to brush the cows, and that money goes towards Santa's cabin, which is a 90-year tradition in Hanover. It's a great way to be able to partner with the community and get them thinking about, the importance of agriculture and these animals. And the fact I get to do this with my dad and my kids is pretty awesome.
What do you all have planned for your 50th celebration?
So we have a couple things planned. The big one is the national gathering for the American Highland Cattle Association will be held in June on our farm. We have invited speakers to come talk to, we're expecting about 200 farms. So we've invited speakers to come talk. Joel Salatin from Polyface Farm will be there. Michelle Miller will be there. And then a woman by the name of Tony Filippone. Joel Salatin will be talking about extending hay days, pasture management, all the wonderful things he talks about. Michelle Miller will be speaking on connecting with customers, whether you're selling brood stock, merchandise, or beef, how to connect with customers using social media, using the internet, that sort of thing. And one thing that we are going to talk about that I'm pretty excited about, because I don't think it's talked about a lot. Tony Filippone is a speaker from a group called Master Grief. And farming has a lot of mental health issues that come up that's under, calving loss, farm crop loss. And we don't talk about those things. So I'm hoping that her speaking can really touch on farming mental health and really giving people tools to not only, understand that sometimes there's nothing you can do. Sometimes the calf just dies. But dealing and processing with that grief so you're not carrying it around. We find a lot of new producers are out between years 3 and 5 for various reasons. Dad started, I think, what are you up to, Dad? 200 plus farms at this point. So Dad started a lot of farms over the years, and a lot of them are out between years 3 and 5 because they don't have good pasture management or, hay prices and that sort of thing. They don't know how to find customers for, now I have beef, now I have brood stock to sell. How do I do that? Or they have suffered a massive loss. So, and they just don't recover from that. So our goal with this birthday celebration is like, hey, we've been doing this for 50 years. Let's arm you with the tools so that maybe you can continue, make past that hump 3 to 5 and celebrate our 50th year by empowering other farms to continue on in farming.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
If someone listening wants to get involved, wants to attend, whether they have cattle now or they're thinking about starting, how can they get in touch with you? How can they learn more?
So the information is currently actually on the Mid-Atlantic Highland Cattle's website to sponsor, whether it's a vendor event, because we are going to have a big vendor fair there. My goal is to have all sorts of companies there, from tractors to retail shop things, to help farms in any way they can. So it's the newest products that are available. So there'll be a vendor fair there. So if you have a business that can help people in their animal husbandry farming needs, the vendor fair application is on the Mid-Atlantic's website. We also have sponsorship. So if you want to, see these speakers come and really kind of help with that part of it, because that's a lot. you can participate by sponsoring. And then we will have registration and whatnot will go through the American Highland Cattle Organization. And so that there will be more details on their website coming. Working on that now.
And just to clarify for folks listening who might not know, MAHA, or the Mid-Atlantic Highland, is kind of a regional group, while obviously the American Association is more the national registry, correct?
Yes. Yeah. The American Highland Cattle Registry is the oldest in the nation. And they are who we do registrations and whatnot through the American Highland Cattle Association. But Mid-Atlantic really helps those breeders in our region, though we have people in Alabama, which definitely isn't Mid-Atlantic, that are part of that member organization. And they hold educational workshops, and they're really meant to be breeder support.
Imagine managing your animals and updating your website without needing any tech experience.
That's exactly why we built Hired Hand software. It's designed for breeders, not web designers.
Upload animals, track records and new calves, update photos, all in just a few clicks.
Whether you're brand new or growing a multi-breed program, we make sure your online presence is easy, modern, and manageable.
Visit hiredhandsoftware.com and see how simple it can be to keep your herd and your website up to date. Well, throughout this conversation, you've used the word agritourism a lot as it relates to your mission for your farm, but also the breed as a whole. Talk to me a little bit more about that. Tell me what inspired you to start hosting events on the farm, what that has meant for your relationships in your community.
Sure. So the agritourism kind of was born from the fact that people started contacting us. Hey, I want to come out to the farm. Oh, Highlands are so cute. I want to come snuggle one. But the main idea for that came from a conversation that I had with a friend over coffee. And it was when I was working with the cattle early on, and I was describing some of my girls like they were people. And he said, why do the cows have Facebook? And, this is like 2010, between 2010 and 2014. And he's like, do the cows have Facebook? It sounds like they all need Facebook profiles. And I was like, oh my gosh, the cows should have Facebook. You're absolutely right. And so it kind of started as a joke, but then as the cows started getting this following and people were like, I want to come visit the farm. How do we do agritourism events that are safe for people? Because let's be honest, not everybody is a farm person, that are safe for cows and that make it worth our time. So one of the first events we did is Meet the Highlands, where those animals that were going to York Fair were tied to a hay wagon and people would come and brush them. And very small group of people, and it was a giant learning curve. I had some people coming in flowing dresses. Well, these cows I don't work cows in flowing dresses. Dad doesn't have flapping clothes. So the cows weren't used to seeing certain things. So it was a good desensitizing activity for the cows. But then we realized, okay, we have to say, you're going to be on a farm, then, and closed-toed shoes apparently weren't something that made sense to other people. So as we went along, in the early days, we saw what we could do and what we needed to improve upon. So we do an event called Meet the Highlands, but now it is underneath our big barn. They are tied to rails that are from the old dairy operations. So people get into the historic, that barn will turn 100 next year, right, Dad? It's a 100-year-old barn. And they brush the cows there, and they're given explanations and they have a small talk. We have a small talk about what the breed is, what they should look like, and the colors, and whatever other questions they have come up. We also do hay rides into the fields. We do two. We do one We have one coming up in the spring, and then we'll have another one in the fall. It's usually around calving season or towards the end of calving season. And I tell people one is rated G because the bulls aren't in, and one could be NC-17 if the bulls are working. And I'm not going to explain that. That's what your mom is for. So,
I should interject, Molly, that somewhere along the way, we introduced fig bars to the herd.
that's my kid's fault.
And all the cows are addicted to fig bars, like Fig Newtons, except
Okay.
we buy from Walmart or Ollie's, the less expensive versions. We buy them by the case. And when the hay rides go out, we give many sleeves of fig bars to the people on the wagon. And so the cows know the drill. So when you go out in a herd, the cows all come up looking for their fig bars. So it's everybody gets the giggles feeding cows. Works out really well.
I feel like you need to pitch a sponsorship or something there. Maybe you guys could get picked up by Fig Newton for a national.
I have tried. I have sent them letters and video. But I know it sounds like a novelty. And again, just somebody who runs commercial cattle, this probably isn't going to work with their operation. But to be able to take the general public in a hay wagon, they're seated on straw or hay. So if you're seated on a hay bale, someone's going to eat your seat. And, you take them out into the fold, into the green space, and there is no traffic around. And they're surrounded by cattle and woods and pasture, and they have this positive experience. And yes, the hay wagon is similar to being in a shark cage. You go down into the ocean and you look at the sharks that way. These aren't sharks, but still. The hay wagon goes out. The people are largely protected from the horns, but they get up close and personal, and it's free choice. So it's a really cool way of sharing the land with the community and getting them to interact and see that these animals are well cared for, and all the feel goods you want to have. The hayride is a lot of fun. But yeah, my kids are responsible for the fig bar. That's a totally different story, but yeah, that my kids are responsible for that. Dad is not.
Peter, when you bought those first few Highlanders, when you made that decision, did you ever think it would lead to some of these events Heather just explained?
No idea. No, no. We've come a long way. And the relationships that Heather and her daughters have with certain cows and certain bulls is really amazing. And I'm sure if Heather ran into Olaf at some show or whatnot, there'd be a lot of mooing and hugging going on. But no, I had no idea when I got these. I was looking to occupy land that hadn't been farmed or as pasture for a number of years, and it, like I say, it got a life of its own as time went on.
What about your farm relationship with your local community and kind of how the events have maybe strengthened that or impacted that? Have you seen a difference there?
Absolutely. This year, we're making a point of partnering with different organizations every time we have a farm event, because I do feel like we are part of the community. People tell me all the time, we drive by your cows. Oh, those are the fuzzy cows. It's not like you can miss them. We have partnered with local FFA kids to do events on farm to help them earn enough money to get their jackets. We have partnered with music department at a local school so that they can give scholarships to kids who are going into music. And there are other, and then of course, Hanover's Santa Cabin is another one that we partner with because that is an important part of our community. And it's not only community outreach, but it brings different people to the fold. Someone who may not have found us otherwise. And maybe that's a new beef buyer. Maybe that's a new person that, is, there for a stuffed animal, or we partner with a cosmetic chemist to make tallow soap so that we try to use every part of the animal. It's one more person to come to the farm to see what we do and see the conservation, to see the breed preservation and the stewardship that's going on. And it's a wonderful relationship to establish.
I'd like to pick up on something you said when you told the Facebook story. If you both are okay, I'd like to talk a little bit about the internet and how that's impacted things.
Oh, it's so different. It's so different. So Dad and I were talking, and I said, when you were looking for a bull, when it was time for a legend to move on, how did you find a new bull? And he's describing the sales process, right? So you take a picture and then you take it to be developed. And it wasn't a 1 hour develop, it's a week. And then you hope that the picture you took comes back and it's okay. And then you send that to somebody via snail mail. And then they have to look, it has to get there. And then you have to find a time to call. And it's this long, laborious process. And now I can do a live feed from the pasture. I can FaceTime people who are interested in purchasing animals. So the internet has changed sales in a lot. With our Instagram and our Facebook, and we have more followers on Facebook because I did that first. I have this following that I'm so blessed to have. They follow the story adventures of the day, or, I'll get messages. Oh, I'll put something out there that, oh, so-and-so is not feeling well, or someone's about to calve. And then I don't do an update. And I have people who are upset because they didn't know that so-and-so had her calf. One thing we did this winter, when we were open in February, it happened to coincide with, a bottle baby's birthday. She had been born 2 weeks early, and all of my followers, watched her grow up. Well, she had her first birthday. The number of people who came to wish Teeny a happy first birthday and to pet her on the head and feed her a fig bar. I mean, it was awesome, totally surprising, and really cool. But it also means that you have to be really responsible with what you put out there. I'm not videoing constantly. You have to know when to put the phone in your pocket and focus on what you're doing. And so some days we're so busy that I have no story because I'm doing stuff. So I think it's been really interesting, to have that change from where Dad started, to where we are now. And I will say that our website has been huge for both selling events as well as selling animals, because of the features that Hired Hands has, especially when it comes to pedigrees. Because before the website, I'm sending pictures of, this is mom, this is dad, this is the progeny, yada, yada, yada. Now they can go to our website, click on the cow, and not only does the pedigree show up, but I love the new progeny feature that is on there too. So it really helps with showing off the herd without having people come on property.
Was your Hired Hand powered website your first website for the farm? And so how long between when you put the cows on Facebook to when you got that website?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Like I said, I started the cows on Facebook as kind of a joke. And like, truly, like, oh, Madison loves her fig bar today. Like, that wasn't sales. That was just like, Heather was bored. So I'm not, gosh, Molly, I don't know when we started with you guys. It's been a while though.
It has. Yeah. I would say probably at least 5 to 7 years, maybe longer than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So it saved me a lot of time. Oh my gosh, it saves so much time. Or you get the person that's tire kicking about, I want to buy an animal today, and our sales policy is clearly listed on our website. So I can say, go to the website, and by being able to push people to the website so they get an idea of what our herd looks like and how we do business, has really helped save me time on the sales end.
Well, if you both are okay, I'd like to wind down the episode here with a little bit of a reflective segment to kind of just celebrate your 50 years. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So I have a couple questions, and I'd like you each to kind of fill in the blank or finish the statement, I guess. So the first one, 50 years teaches you patience with
Everything. It does. It teaches you patience with everything. We're so used to now, like, click, click, we have it on the phone. A calf isn't going to feel better. You give her the Banamine, it doesn't happen right away. Her body has to, everything in its time. Tractor breaks during hay season, throwing a fit isn't going to get the job done. You have to have patience with getting the equipment and whatnot together. Or repairing it, no matter how frustrating and how much hay you have down. So I would say it's taught me patience with everything. Dad?
Well, certainly handling cattle, you have to be patient. And right after I got the first group of animals, I was trying to herd them and move them from one pasture to another. And the bullet had enough, so he walks up to a post, swings his horn, and breaks a brand new fence post in half. And I went, well, okay, I think we're done here today. So come back the next day, he's in a better mood, and we got the animals moved. But going forward, we've learned patience. It works very well in handling animals, especially the wide variety of personalities. And maybe today will work, maybe tomorrow would work better. Okay. So patience.
All right, the next one, 50 years teaches you to value this.
Well, first of all, I value my relationship with my family, with Heather, with her daughters, and the fact that we share this experience together. Our recent trip to Denver to the national show, we all worked very hard to present our animals and to watch my two granddaughters take their animals into the sale ring and present them as well as they did. I think meant a lot to the results we got. They were very poised in doing what they did, and so that the time I spend with my daughter and my granddaughters is very important to me.
I can't really top that. No, it does teach you how important family is, because, gosh, when you have an animal out or there's an animal in crisis and you pick up the phone and you need help, you have it. And it is a blessing to know that, your family has your back.
I feel like maybe we should just end on that one, because that was really good. Very, very honest. Let's see. What's my next question here? Let's look ahead. All right, let's talk about the next 50 years. So what are your goals or dreams for the next chapter?
Wow. Well, my goal is to discover ways to make the farm sustainable, to make it profitable, continue to make it profitable, and move that bar forward. Obviously, I'm good health. I enjoy making hay. They don't let me handle cattle too much anymore, but I enjoy my involvement, and I hope that continues. But again, to see the farm develop, see it continue to add things that the community will take interest in. That's my goal.
I have a lot of goals. And we're open once a month right now. I would like to have the traffic and the beef to be able to be open more than once a month. Obviously increasing our beef production, and that also means the number of customers we have. I would love to be able to continue doing agritourism, and sharing the land and our animals with the community, and continue to produce the best Highlands we can. And as we've learned and grown, have amazing people working for us that help us achieve our goals, and also have the vision of continuously improving, and yet staying true to the Scottish Highland breed, and truly being a steward of this breed and this herd. So yeah, that's what my 50-year goal is. There's the shorter goal, and then there's the longer term one.
Is there anything that you all wanted our listeners to hear from you or take away today that I haven't asked you that you'd like to share?
Molly, I don't know. I just feel really blessed to be able to do what I do. I feel really, I feel very seriously that this is a calling, and it's a stewardship, to take care of the land, to take care of these animals, and to show others that they are important, that we need both the animals and to preserve the land as best we can. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I already said that, though.
How about you, Peter? Anything else to add?
No, I think Heather said it.
We'll tell everyone where they can learn more about Sheppard Farm on Apple Hill, your events, your animals, your 50th year celebration. Give me all the website addresses and the social media handles, Heather.
Of course. So on Facebook, we are Sheppard Farms. On Instagram, we are Sheppard Farm on Apple Hill. And our website through Hired Hands is shepherdfarmonapple.hill.com. Our events are listed under the events tab, and that is constantly being updated as to what events we have on farm, as we either come up with the ideas or, add them to the website. We do have some animals listed for sale. We also have a wait list right now. So if you want to get on the wait list, you do need to contact us, fill out the questionnaire, and upon its completion and return, you'll be placed into the wait list. And we always try to find the right animals for the fold. And it's a choice that makes sure that everybody's happy with.
Thank you both so much for sharing your story today. 50 years of stewardship. 50 years of stewardship and family and dedication to agriculture is something to really be incredibly proud of. And we're really honored to help you celebrate that milestone and get the word out. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to From the Pasture podcast, and we'll see you next time.